Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Reset. And this week, it's a special report because today we are talking player housing in World of Warcraft. And we are talking the latest Blue Post update from Blizzard, all about neighborhoods. We've already seen and tested the frankly incredibly impressive decor system and how we create interiors. We've learned about collections and crafting and how old content will be reinvigorated by being connected to things that you fill your inside space with. And now, finally, we get an idea of how these zones that house these communities will function. The gameplay and leveling involved with them, the players that will run them and hold sway over the comings and goings, and more. And this is a super interesting one in my opinion, because neighborhoods are the feature of WoW player housing that I think is the most unique and envelope pushing of this system, and also as a result, definitely the most controversial part of it too. So join us as we go over that blue post and really unravel neighborhoods in Midnight, okay? Go, 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 go. Size. I think one of the most striking takeaways from this post is probably the sheer size of the player housing zones and the amount of outside space that players will have to mess with. Now, we've already seen running in-game footage of the Alliance zone before, which we now know is called Founder's Point. But this update gives us our first real taste of the Horde equivalent, Razorwind Shores. And yeah, the footage that sticks most in the mind from before are these great town shots, if you like, where player houses are grouped together in a more urban setup. There are streets and paths and everyone's walking along, waving to each other, and that's great. I love this. But of course, for every player who wants to be in the social center where the action is, there's going to be others who want a much more isolated experience too. And Blizzard confirm here that this will absolutely be a thing. We see shots of houses completely detached from the hustle and bustle, on top of hills, in spoopy clearings, perched on terrifying precipices with what seems to be barely another player house in view, let alone encroaching on your lovely freedom and space. And when you consider that Founder's Point will consist of these lonely hermit shacks, the more densely packed centers, and what sounds like everything else in between, the post mentions little cul-de-sacs of 2 or 3 houses where friends can live near each other. And when you consider that each zone has space for around 50 of these plots, I mean, that's a lot of space. These zones are going to have to be pretty substantial, and that means there's plenty of room for interesting visual variety in those zones too, which I imagine will come as a huge relief, especially to Horde players, worried that they would be stuck in a dusty cactus-filled sand bowl. An aesthetic which definitely does exist in Razorwind Shores, but we also get our first look at that promised Ashara-style parts of the zone, all golden or tumbled trees, as well as what Blizz describe as a lush oasis, but which everyone else online is already calling the beach house, with tropical palm trees and animals wandering freely about. As always, we are linking Wowhead articles that you might find interesting in the description below, including all of these new pictures so that you can look at them as closely as you like. I know you like to look very closely, see. What I will say is that from what we've seen so far, I think the Alliance zone seems to have more obvious variety. The idyllic farmlands, Darkshore-inspired haunted woods, and rocky waterfalls seem just on this showing to be a lot more distinct from each other than the Razorwind Shore images, which are all just kind of orange? Do you think it's fair to say? They're very orange. I know if I were a Forsaken enjoyer, which I am, and I was looking for the perfect location for my spoopy cabin in the woods to which I could lure unsuspecting backpackers and force to watch my 11.2 spoilers video, this part of the Alliance zone here is what I'm eyeing up. I don't want something this orange. Give me the spoop. And Blizzard have said in interviews that for the launch of player housing, from an aesthetic point of view, they are prioritizing players' class and race fantasies. So I'm sure there will be something in Razorwind Shores to satisfy the boniest of boys, both in location of housing plot and in the exterior decor options too, because another concern I'm seeing a lot of after this post is about this stock Horde house, all spiky and red and very orky as it is. Now obviously we haven't had an update about the decorating the outside of our homes yet, so all we have to go off is these pics, and it is worth noting the Blood Elf spire in the background of this picture here, which, just like the Night Elf looking thing in the Alliance footage from before, would suggest there may be other options for how our homes look on the outside as well. Pure speculation at this stage, granted, we are going to have to wait and see. Confirmation in this post though that we will have yards. We will be able to decorate the spaces outside our homes, and that our housing plots are placed far away enough from each other that there will be a gap between them, so those decorations don't overhang and impose on your neighbours, or vice versa. Again, we're going to have to wait for a different update to get a sense of what those decorating options are, but I think most of us can probably imagine. And when it comes to choosing which of these plots you get to live in, that should apparently be quite simple too. If you are a single player living in a public neighbourhood, probably the standard way of playing, you should be able to just straight up choose. Blizzard says that public neighborhoods are created as needed by the game's servers, and anyone can buy a house in them. As they fill up, new instances are created. So I think the idea here is that if you definitely want Terrifying Precipice House, and you can't possibly be happy unless you have Terrifying Precipice House, and I feel you'd have a look at the neighborhoods currently being filled on your server or realm, and if Precipice House wasn't available in any of those neighborhoods, then you'd wait for those to fill up and new ones to be created and made available, and then choose the Precipice plot in one of those instead. And I have no doubt that inevitably there are going to be plots that are just more desirable than others, and that more people will want. So there might potentially be rushes for those spots whenever a new neighborhood is created and opened, followed by slightly slower spells as the other less desirable plots get filled. A lot is going to depend, I guess, on how many unfilled neighborhoods are open and available to choose from at any one time. That's for public neighborhoods, but of course those aren't the only type of neighborhood available to players. The feature that I've been most excited about in WoW housing since we first learned how this was going to work is guild and charter neighborhoods. These are the two types of private neighborhood that we'll be able to create. Private neighborhoods are created, owned, and organized by groups of players, presumably in a guild neighborhood. That will be the guildmaster and whoever the guildmaster decides to apply permissions to. In charter neighborhoods, it will be the group of players who set up the charter together and whoever they decide to give permissions to. I'm going to assume setting up a neighborhood charter is a bit like the charter you use to set up a guild in the first place. These private neighborhoods will have minimum requirements regarding the amount of players needed to set them up, which we don't yet know, but which almost certainly means that if you dreamt of having a whole neighborhood zone for your own private guild made up entirely of your own characters, you won't actually be able to do that, sadly. Private neighborhoods get to name their neighborhood, which the computer does automatically for public versions, and choose who lives there. In guild neighborhoods, this sounds like it will take the form of a guild roster menu option, where it will be as simple as just selecting the names of the members and maybe allocating their plot, or maybe it's done on a first come or first logged in, first served basis. But one of the big questions we had in our guild about this was about the number of plots in the zone, because we have more than 50 members who are going to want to live in our guild neighborhood, and we were wondering if we were going to have to set up like an A neighborhood and a B neighborhood, which would be terrible because I remember the old A and B raid teams and I don't want to go back to those days, you know? So for me, one of the biggest wins of this update is the reveal that for guilds, the server will just go ahead and have homes available for everyone in a guild through additional attached instances, regardless of the guild's size. And like, yay! But also, I mean, are they just going to replicate the same zone over and over again and tack it onto the side of the main one? That would be insane, and I kind of love the idea. I cannot wait to see how that works, and I'm just glad that we won't have to choose the 50 most popular people in the guild to live in the main neighborhood at the exclusion of everyone else, because frankly, I'm not that popular in my guild. I don't think I'd make the cut. Charter neighborhoods will not have that that infinite duplicating zone function though, and will be limited to the standard 50 or so plots that the zone is built with. But I do love the idea of communities that you can create with the charter zones. Friendship groups, or social or Discord or streamer communities. Okay, forget about the streamer communities. It would be cool if there was a neighborhood finder feature maybe, like the guild finder in game, where players could search for the kind of home they are looking for, like an RP community, or an LGBTQ+ community, or a Tauren only community, you know, the sort of thing. This is the feature that I think genuinely places WoW housing as potentially the most innovative and exciting player housing in modern MMOs, and combined with the top-rate decorating options will genuinely make it among the best housing in MMOs. It's hard to overemphasize how good I think this idea is. Just some other little details to clarify about this before we move on. As stated in interviews, moving neighborhood will be a very easy thing to do. You can choose to leave at any time. Your entire house that you've made is saved and instantly recreated in the new neighborhood that you move to. You even have a regret timer where you can change your mind and go back. It seems incredibly chill, honestly. Players who are removed from or leave guilds will automatically be removed from guild neighborhoods, and I assume that there will be permissions in both types of private neighborhood for removing other players too. Oh, and speaking of permissions, those seem really robust as well. As a player, you can choose who can enter your outside yard space and inside home space separately, with loads of different privacy options, like being completely inaccessible to guests, to allowing only friends, or neighbors, or guildies, or, you know, literally everyone. And these are constantly changeable. Blizzard describes having a private book club in the afternoon, and then opening up for a public party at night, and like, yeah, I might do that, or I might just create a deadly maze in my spoopy cabin in the woods for unsuspecting visitors to get caught in forever. And then a book club in the afternoon, obviously. In Final Fantasy XIV, I used to really enjoy wandering around the neighborhood and entering the houses that were public and seeing what people had done inside. I found that really inspiring and nice. So this really pleases me. The devs sounded pretty surprised when I suggested in our interview that I wanted my home to be completely public, and I'm just glad such a breadth of privacy options have found their way into this system. I've got a couple of questions still about some of these pictures that we see in the new post, like how is the Hearthstone going to work? I'm assuming that we will have a Hearthstone to our neighborhood, right? Will that take us into our house? Just outside our house, as I imagine most of us would like, or, as I would like to see it, into the middle of the housing zone. Hey, I kind of like to have to travel through the neighborhood a bit to get to my plot, you know? I want to see what the neighbors are up to. I'm nosy like that. In a few of these pictures now, we've seen summoning stones outside of homes. I'd love to know more about them. Are they just for decoration, or are they functional? Is this where we summon our buddies from other neighborhoods? All things I need answers to, but this post was way more than just what neighborhoods look like and how they work, because it also talked about how we play in them and how we level and unlock rewards in them. Neighborhood favor. First, and almost kind of slipped in right at the very end of the post, is the neighborhood favor system, which is the personal single-player leveling system, accompanied by this image, which is basically a housing renown tree. You can see it's got different levels with an experience bar for each, and each new level grants a number of rewards for housing. In this example, level 7 is shown to reward a quilted blood elf chair thing, a Belemeth table, and a Forsaken themed lantern. And this makes sense. Nice furniture items to help you build up your collection on top of what you're getting from quests, the cash shop, achievements, the cash shop, crafting, the cash shop, the trading post, and the cash shop. Oh, and also another reward here is increased decor limit. We've talked about this in the last housing video, but yeah, this would be confirmation that when we first buy our starter homes, they will in fact be just that, starter homes, to be leveled up and upgraded. Decor limit, the number of things that you're able to actually place within the space, is, by this, obviously something that can be increased. And I guess now the question is, what number does it start from, and how quickly can we upgrade it? I don't think anyone wants a situation where day one of housing launches and excited players rush into their new homes only to find that they only have enough decor limit for a mattress, a bucket, and a guillotine. I mean, that's all I'm planning on putting in my house anyway, but from what I gather, most players want more than that. At the same time, it would be kind of pointless having a level up system at all if it started at a ridiculously high amount that you didn't feel any sense of progression by increasing. So this is a very fine line. And also, what other numbers will this leveling apply to? We've been told that the maximum number of rooms in a house is 10, but I guess that's the number of rooms in a fully upgraded house. Will it start off lower than that? Likewise, the number of floors your house can have. And I'm kind of in two minds about all of this. I like the idea of a gamification of housing in this way and progressing it, but I also know from testing that the thing that made all of this so addictive and just a beautiful time black hole was the sheer amount of things I could do. And I'd hate for these homes to launch in a state where players felt their creativity was being severely limited because they hadn't leveled the feature up enough yet. We do at least know how this neighborhood favor is gained, and that is through endeavors, the multiplayer gameplay part of neighborhoods. Endeavors. Endeavors are roughly monthly events which will roll into your town and which Blizz refer to as an opportunity to learn from various cultures and factions of Azeroth by completing different tasks. The example they show is of a Val'sharah themed endeavor with a big emerald nightmare tree taking up a space in the town square of Founders Point, which is where I assume all of this endeavor stuff is going to be based. Gnarled vines poking out of the ground and other visual changes. The progression on this sounds like it's basically going to be a traveler's log type affair, but on a neighborhood scale, with your community getting endeavor currency for completing X amount of dungeons, killing X amount of world bosses, / dancing with X amount of NPCs in Val'sharah, that kind of thing. And it'll also unlock different themed decorations from the vendors there that players can buy and use too. Some interesting things about this. The tasks that make up the Traveler's Log thing scale to the population of the neighborhood. So a full neighborhood will have more tasks to complete the event compared to a half-empty one, but also to activity. So if you're in a neighborhood that doesn't really engage in endeavor stuff, doesn't bother with it, the next endeavor that the neighborhood gets will have less requirements to reflect that, which is very smart. Also, those decorations that you unlock from the vendors in an endeavor are available to buy for everyone. So players living in your neighborhood, obviously, but also players visiting, which means if for some reason your neighborhood falls short one time and there's something you just really need that remains locked in your neighborhood, like a guillotine or whatever, then a trip to visit another neighborhood that has unlocked everything will allow you to buy it, assuming you have the currency. Most months there will even be a choice of endeavors, which will get assigned by the servers on a public neighborhood, but which players in a private neighborhood can pick. And that wording suggests to me a public vote of some kind, which could be fun. But that means that even after your neighborhood has completed your endeavor, you can still visit other neighborhoods that chose different themes, hang out there, enjoy it all, and buy all the stuff they unlocked too, assuming you have the currency. I can see the posts in Group Finder now. Come visit our fully unlocked Murloc holiday MBH. Tips welcome! As well as supposedly bringing the players of a neighborhood together in a unified objective, it's nice that there will be at least parts of each housing zone which will be constantly changing in appearance and which will be potentially very different from other neighborhoods, which depending on how much customization we do end up being allowed to have on the outside of our homes might be really important, I think. I like that the vendors being in the town square will help bring players out of their homes to the town square to see each other in the zone. And there's probably going to be a few seasonal things in there too, isn't there? Like Hallow's End and Winter Vale, and hopefully some of those events that arrive in town will be interactive, like little games or challenges that the members of the neighborhood can take part in together, like the sausage eating competition. I love the sausage eating competition. This is one of those features that we aren't ever really going to get a handle on until it's properly there and testable on an alpha, but I do like the idea, and even more, I approve of what it's trying to achieve. There are definitely some much requested neighborhood features that are noticeable by their absence in this post though, most notably a town hall or an inn to act as a communal meeting space or guild hall. The images that illustrate the changes that endeavors make to the town square show a central collection of houses, and one of them seems to be considerably bigger than the others, with a slightly different coloured roof. Now, is this just some of the customization we can apply to our own home exteriors, or is it a large communal building? I have some more stupid mundane questions, like can we fly in neighborhoods or will it all be ground mounts? Can we fish in the bodies of water there or gather herbs and plants that may grow around the place? Otherwise though, and overall, this is just another update from the housing team that has filled me with even more confidence that this is going to be an absolute banger of a system, comparable to any housing system in MMOs, except better because, you know, it's WoW. I knew housing was going to be great after that decor post, but every single update we've had, as well as getting to play it obviously, has just really solidified my belief that WoW's housing is going to be huge and absolutely worth the wait. But what do you think? What about this latest update has you most excited or worried? Does the thought of a level up system and zone-wide traveler's log fill you with joy or dread? Let us know in the comments below. And thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real-life money to make all of our work happen. And patrons, seriously, thank you. Because without you, there would be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evertel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Vitamin P. No, my name is Taliesin from me and Evertel. Until next time, cheerio.